Today I'm going to show you how to edit the Scenery.CFG file. Sometimes you may get errors when you launch your flight simulator saying error found in Scenery.CFG. Specific scenery area is not found, and sometimes you may need to go in there and change it or correct it. What you can also do is if you are just playing around with scenery, moving scenery to different folders, one way you can do it is through the scenery library in FlightSim or Prepare 3D, or you can directly edit the Scenery.CFG file. I've got the FlightSim screen loaded up here, and I've also got a shortcut to my Scenery.CFG file. I'm going to show you where the Scenery.CFG file is. It's actually in a hidden directory on your C drive in a directory called Program Data /Microsoft/FSX. If you don't have the option to display hidden files selected in your Windows, you will not see that particular folder. I'm showing it here and it's grayed out, which does show, once it's grayed out, it's a bit paler on the folder, and it shows that it is a normally hidden folder. This is Windows 7. If we did want to actually, if you can't see that folder, when you go to your C drive, you go Tools, Folder Options, you go to View, and we want to select the option here to show hidden files, folders, and drives. Okay, if I select that now and apply, that program data and all my other hidden files have disappeared. I'm going to select Show, Apply, and it appears again. Okay, so it's program data, Microsoft, and FSX. What I've done, I've just created a shortcut on my desktop. If you just select right click, select copy, go back to your desktop, right click and select paste shortcut. You don't have to navigate to that folder each time. All you need to do is just click on your shortcut and it'll open the file with your notepad. What I suggest you do though, if you aren't really clear what you're doing initially in playing with this file, is to make a backup copy. So I'm going to open file location and I'm going to go Control C, Control V, and that's just making a copy of it. In case you do anything wrong, you can just delete the Scenery.CFG and rename your copy back to Scenery.CFG. Now, if we open up the Scenery.CFG file, go towards the bottom here, all the entries at the top are your default flight sim scenery options, all the base areas that come with it. If we scroll down, these are some of the custom areas that I've got. If I click on Scenery Library, you'll see that these few states that are at the top here are also shown here. Okay. And basically, active equals true. That actually determines whether that box is checked or not. If I go to the Rhode Island sample I've got here, see here it says active equals false. That has come up as being deselected. So that's what that active means. As far as the title, that is what shows here in the Scenery Library. Okay, local is where is that particular, in which folder is that scenery. Okay, so there's local and remote. The difference is if we select remote, what it does, it actually remote. If I go into edit area here, remote basically is the difference here between using the scenery directory directly or caching the scenery. So for remote, I guess for optimization and performance, it's a good idea to cache the scenery, but the problem is that a large area, especially one of the MegaSceneryEarth titles that might be 50 or 60 gigabytes, it will actually cache all that first, and it'll be a long time before you can fly. So I suggest that you never have the option to cache the scenery. Always use the scenery directly. That way it just loads it on the fly off the disk without caching, copying it all to a temporary directory before it then loads in Flight Sim. You don't want that. It's quite undesirable. The required, you don't really have to worry about that. It's always going to be false. There are only a couple of areas that are actually required, and they are some of the default terrain options. And in fact, it's only the first two options that required equals true. To be honest, I've never played with selecting required equals false. Whether the scenery or the Flight Sim loads or not, I don't know. I'm pretty sure it still loads, but you'll have no world beneath you. Okay, so, and if we select an area, now this will not update live here. It's only when you select OK to any changes here will it actually update the Scenery.CFG, but you also won't see that update live here. But moving up and down will actually change these numbers here. Okay, so, but we're not really so much concerned with, I guess I'm showing you how what functions here is how that is affected here in the Scenery.CFG file. I'm going to cancel and I'm going to exit Flight Sim for now, and what we'll do is let's change let me just go back again here. The area is basically the area number. If you're going to add a new area, what I tend to do is just do copy, and I go I paste it to a new entry, and I'll just increment each number here, 125, layer 125. Okay, and I can select any folder on the drive or any of my drives that actually contains the scenery. You know, I could just put in test, and let's say I do have a scenery you know, in a folder called C:/test. It will look there for the scenery. And in fact, if I actually, let me save this, okay, and I'm going to run my Flight Sim, and it's going to give me an error because there is no folder on my computer C:/test with any scenery in it. So that's what it's going to say: Scenery.CFG file local area C:/test scenery area not found. Okay to continue. So it's going to rebuild a database, and if I go into scenery library, it's going to be there, but it cannot find the scenery. Okay, so if you do get that error, you can actually either just deselect that so it's not enabled, or you can just delete it altogether. Okay, so delete the test area, select OK. It's going to do a quick update again. I'm going to exit Flight Sim again, and watch what happens when I load the Scenery.CFG. You'll see that that test area has now gone. Okay. There's not much else really to show you on it, except that it's just important that if you want to create a new custom scenery area or a folder with scenery, make sure that you have the folder called scenery. And within the scenery is where all your BGL files. That's the way Flight Sim will look for a structure. It looks for the directory, and then the fact that it's got the scenery in there as a subdirectory, and that then the BGL files are in the scenery subdirectory. There's also a textures folder as well. The MegaSceneryEarth in this example does not have, we don't have AutoGen scenery, so you will not see the textures folder there. But if we look at another Flight Sim folder here, if we go into scenery, we just look at one of these base areas. None of those have got AutoGen either, or any other textures. Let's have a look at so these ones do have. Okay, so and there's all your texture files. Okay, but the MegaSceneryEarth doesn't have it. As long as you have at a minimum a scenery folder and the BGL files within the scenery folder, they will be, it will work. Okay, it will display them. And in fact, just for fun here, let's just scroll down here to one of these areas, Europe East. If we look in this listing here, we will find it in the And if I scroll up, let me just scroll down. These are all the base areas. So we've got Asia, Africa, Australia, Europe East. Alright, so there we are. And then Europe West, you'll see that there as well. Okay, so everything in here points to where exactly the scenery is on the drive. Okay, so again, these drive letters can be anything. Like for example, in this case, I've actually got, this is a network mapped drive. This is another one of the PCs here, and I don't have to specifically have the drive number as long as it uses that UNC naming format. That's the name of the PC that it's on a network drive. So it doesn't matter where your scenery is. This can be C drive, D drive, E drive, F drive, Z drive. It doesn't matter, or it can even be a network drive. Okay, so that is it. Now it's also one other thing I didn't really clearly show. Let me just quickly create an area again. Control C, Control V, 125. We'll just go back to the test again. It's important that when you exit, you always select the option to save. Okay, so save, or you can go File, Save, and it will save it. Okay, and now that next time Flight Sim loads, it's going to see that the Scenery.CFG is different to the last time it loaded, and it'll re-index the files again. Okay, so I'm just going to delete that again. You can also make it, neaten it up if you like, and just add a line break between each area. Just makes it a little bit neater and easier to see, easier to make sense out of. So there we go, and that's it. That's editing your Scenery.CFG file. Again, it exists in Program Data, Microsoft, FSX. Okay, Prepare 3D will be in a directory called Lockheed Martin, and then Prepare 3D within Lockheed Martin folder. And you don't need to worry about any of these. These are just where all your indexes are stored. There you go here. But you don't ever need to worry about any of those. That's all. Flight Sim takes care of that in the background. That's it managing all its scenery and all the indexes. You really only need to worry about Scenery.CFG. Also, make sure, again, that you make a copy of it. You can have as many copies as you like as backups. Okay, if you were to make an error, what you would do, and your Flight Sim wouldn't load for whatever reason, you would just delete your Scenery.CFG, and you would just rename the backup to Scenery.CFG, and you're back in business again. Okay, and then again, create another backup of that in case you make any changes that you're not sure about, that might leave the system compromised. And see, those changes have gone now where I added a line break in between each one. And that's it. That's managing Scenery.CFG. There are utilities you can get. They're all freeware out there that make it a little easier, gives you a bit of a GUI for managing your scenery. But if you know how to use Notepad and editing text files, you can just as easily use Notepad to do it. Okay. And that's it. I'll leave you to it. Thank you.